This is what you get when you overseed and it comes up good, or maybe it doesn't come up good and you have to overseed a little bit again in spots, and that's exactly what we did here on this lawn. We'll show you in this video how you fill in the bare spots that might be lingering in your lawn. Hi, I'm John Valentino, president of John and Bob's Corporation. Chip Valentino is here. We're at a yard that we installed some time back and then revisited because it had issues. So overseeding and growing grass from seed in general is not difficult at all, really. You need to have a little bit of warmth, and you need to have a little bit of moisture, and you need to have reasonably good seed, and it'll come up. But even if those things aren't perfect, it'll usually still come up at some point. I like to tell the story about how I germinated seed in the floorboard of my pickup. And not that I was trying to, but I had spilled some seed inside the truck, and after a couple of weeks I looked over there and the grass had sprouted. So if I can grow it in my truck, you can grow it in your yard. In general, when you reseed, you need to somehow prepare your existing grass and soil so that that seed will germinate its best, which is if there's a little bit of soil contact is better. And if you just put seed on top of a bunch of dead grass, usually it doesn't come up very good. It comes up much better if it can get some soil contact, and there's lots of ways to do that. On this yard, what we did is we just raked real hard with a leaf rake in all the dry areas, and just we didn't take out all of the dead grass, but we just thinned it out so much that that seed now had some soil to sit on. You can use a power rake. Some people like to aerate. I usually limit aeration to only if there's a thick buildup of thatch. You can mow low. A lot of times that's all I do is just mow lower than usual, try to pick up everything I can. So all of those are good ways of preparing your lawn to accept that seed and get a little bit of soil contact at least, or a lot of soil contact, so that that seed can germinate and root into the soil. So it is best to overseed with the lawn that you want to grow. It's tempting to mix in other real fast germinating seeds because that'll make it look better faster. A good example is this yard. If I was doing it, which I didn't do the overseeding, the maintenance person did, but I would have stuck to just the tall fescue, which was the original lawn, was a type of tall fescue. I like to use RTF, that's Rhizomatous tall fescue. You know, tall fescue varieties can be mixed without a problem. So even if it wasn't RTF, but it was just some kind of tall fescue, I would usually overseed with RTF because that's one of the toughest that I found, and it also repairs itself very well. That's the idea of the rhizomes, which is unusual for tall fescue to have rhizomes. What did I leave out?
How do you know if you have tall fescue, and if you aren't sure what kind of grass you have, what should you do?
I don't know.
Not sure?
No, I mean, it's hard. You need someone to identify it. There's not. I guess you could look it up on the internet, and look at the grass and compare it. But a lot of times when they send me photos, I have a hard time telling, you know, it's almost something you have to see in person. So if you don't know what kind of lawn you have, or you have just this mixture of weeds and grass and Bermuda and other things, a safe bet is perennial rye, because that makes a real good overseed. Comes up quickly, looks really great all through the winter and early spring. I forgot, I left one thing out from that last one. I like to apply the seed at about 10 pounds per 1,000 square feet, whether it's perennial rye or tall fescue. That's completely different rate than you would use if you were seeding a warm season grass, but for overseeding, that's a good general rate. Now, if we're just doing spots, then you're not doing it over 1,000 square feet. You just kind of sprinkle some on the spots, and that's what we did here. And it's hard to overdo it, and since you're just doing spots, you don't need much, and you can just do it by hand. And then over the seed, I like to use our blend. It helps the seed germinate faster and germinate at a higher rate of successful sprouts. And then I also like to spray it with Penetrate Liquid Biotiller, which is our product, but I wouldn't do those just on the spots. I would just go ahead and do another application over the whole lawn. Otherwise, you might end up, at least with the blend, it could create a greener looking spots where you did the overseeding. On the first seeding, we used a little top dress mulch. On the second seeding here, we didn't. And you don't need to, as long as you can keep that seed moist when the sun is out. And by this time, when we did our second spot seeding here, it was cooler and it was easier to keep the seed moist, probably just one watering in the morning. I usually describe it as about 1/8 of an inch thick, so just a small amount does seem to improve seed germination, along with our blend and our Penetrate Liquid Biotiller. Those three together make it jump up out of the ground quickly. So then, after you've got everything down, whether you're spot seeding or seeding over large areas, the most important step is the watering, because that seed won't germinate unless you keep it moist properly. It's difficult to say how many times you'll have to water. You just need to take a look at it, and you can pretty much tell by looking at the surface. If the surface is moist, you're good. And the other thing is, don't water real early in the morning, because just by normal dew, it'll be moist then. You want to wait till 10, 11 o'clock, and if you're just going to water once, have that one watering be then, or if there's more than one watering, have that first watering be then. So we want to keep that surface moist. If we keep that surface moist, that seed will jump out of the ground. It'll be surprising. It'll germinate even better than out of the floorboard of my truck. As you see that lawn germinate, then you can return to more normal watering for your lawn for the season that it's in. And then the mowing, I like to mow really soon, sooner than most people. If I can get good germination, I might mow 2 weeks after I overseeded. If I can see it still hasn't germinated very well, I wouldn't. But normally, I'm looking to mow the first time 2-3 weeks at the most after I seed.